Now that we've learned about the kinds of sessions that you can run with homework helpers, it's time to dive into the nitty-gritty details. In this next series, we'll walk you through the systems we use for our data management and operations of homework helpers.
Google Drive offers both the option of shared folders and shared drives. Either can be used to share documents among organizers and volunteers. We have used Google Sheets, Docs, Slides, and Forms to organize for homework helpers. During the recruiting and onboarding process, Docs and Slides were helpful ways to deliver information to volunteers and parents. Many of our shared documents also acted as workspaces for brainstorming sessions, and we used Google Docs to prepare meeting agendas and notes and store them in central locations for shared use and reference. Since edit access to docs can be shared among collaborators, it's also a useful tool in the translation process if the materials need to be translated into different languages. Having a visual element to deliver to parents especially is extremely helpful in the onboarding process. We used slides presentations with concise information and applicable links to communicate the way that homework helpers operated, as well as our community guidelines. We also used slides to create slide decks of our small group session course catalogs that parents could reference during the session registration process. All applicable documents for a particular group, so that's volunteers, parents, and students, can be centralized in one folder so that only one link needs to be circulated among any group. Shortening that link with a URL shortener like bit.ly or tinyurl can also allow for easy remembrance of a link for future reference, like bit.ly/AOC homework helpers, for example. Another tool that can be used in conjunction with Google Folders is Linktree, which allows for multiple links to exist on the same web page for similar ease of access. The permissions can be altered as well in all shared Google documents in order to protect proprietary student or volunteer information, so only specific parties are able to view, edit, or comment.
This video will cover how to use Airtable, which is a more advanced system to help run homework helpers. Around halfway through spring, we moved many of our student and volunteer processes from Google Sheets to Airtable, which is a system that acts as a combination of a spreadsheet and a database. The free version of Airtable can be used as an alternative to Google Sheets or Excel to organize student and volunteer data. These systems can also be used concurrently to serve the needs of a particular structure. For example, you could house current data in Airtable and store archived versions of that data in Google Sheets. Because homework helpers dealt with so many different entries of volunteer and student information, the ability of Airtable to host both registration forms and the corresponding data in the same base made it much more easy to access all of the necessary info in one place and make changes. When recruiting new volunteers and students, the data inputted to the forms automatically sorts into the base in real time. It can also be represented in different formats depending on what kind of organization is best for specific kinds of data. The form interface on Airtable is also easy to navigate, both on desktop or phone, which makes it less difficult for parents and volunteers to submit their information at the beginning of their onboarding process and throughout in their surveys. Forms can utilize conditional questions so that questions that do not apply to all students are hidden until specific conditions are indicated, which is useful so you don't have to create multiple forms for different kinds of students. Airtable can be especially useful when it comes to the automations it offers. Automatic personalized emails can be programmed to go out each time a new entry is submitted, rather than requiring a manual email like other form services. Automations can also create Google Calendar events, edit existing entries, or change the table location of entries based on new conditions. It can also be used as a way to send automatic weekly feedback forms to volunteers and parents after their sessions to keep track of matches and help flag potential issues. Multiple collaborators can work in the same base. Airtable keeps track of which person was the last to edit an entry so that accidental changes can be easily followed and fixed if necessary. Airtable has lots of tutorials on their website about how the program works and its different functions, and it can be pretty simple to pick up on the operation of the program after a little practice since it is so user-friendly. We had lots of volunteers who have never used Airtable before, myself included, that are now able to maintain the base with ease. Airtable can streamline many processes and keep the information of volunteers, parents, and students well organized while automating many processes that would have previously taken up more time to complete.
Hosting a session on Zoom is great to start out with to have that personal connection, but once we grew significantly, we had to find a more efficient option, so we partnered with an amazing organization called LearnTo. They run their own tutoring program that's helped so many students throughout the country. LearnTo built their own tutoring platform with lots of functionality, including a built-in classroom where people can have their homework help sessions. It's called Big Blue Button and has many useful functions like a whiteboard and a notepad. Homework helpers are also connected to their student matches through the system and can set their schedule for upcoming sessions on there. Their sessions are logged, which helps us keep track of how often people are meeting and also make sure that people are actively meeting. LearnTo also has great resources for tutors, including a reading list and math exercises in case there's no homework to work on for a session and tutors need a little extra inspiration. LearnTo has been an amazing partner for us and made logistics so much more seamless on our end. If you're interested in starting a homework helper program on a larger scale, we would definitely recommend looking into partnering with LearnTo.